if Jason and I had a 2025 changes video without talking about mental health, sleep apnea, and tinnitus. I'll go ahead and start this one off, Jason, then I'll kick it to you, and we can kind of end it here on the hour mark. But when it comes to 2025, no, it's not final. Yes, I would use April 1st as a planning factor. And before I go into it, what can you do right now? Do an intent to file, right? Worst case scenario, you do an intent to file, you don't use it, so what, right? How do you do an intent to file? Log on to va.gov, starting a claim. Are you active duty? No, right? Whatever the next question is, it's like, are you at risk of being homeless? No. Boom, your intent to file set right there. You can also use a rep. You can also call the VA. Super easy. You can mail one in too if you want to. That's fine. I just prefer VA online or va.gov, excuse me. But for those changes, mental health, man, I don't want to do a rabbit hole. I don't think mental health is that favorable. Jason does think it's favorable. We can talk about that real quick. Sleep apnea does not look favorable at all. I think it's going to suck. I have a fear about sleep apnea, and I'm going to say something, and I don't want it to be misinterpreted as like fear mongering. But when it comes to sleep apnea and VA ratings at the 5 and 10 year mark, so basically not 20, if your sleep apnea rating's at 50%, the thing that worries me with sleep apnea is it talks about if your CPAP works, this is paraphrased, it's going to be rated at 0%, right? So if you're able to wear your CPAP, you are no longer at risk of dying in your sleep, assuming that it's working. Boom, 50% to 0%. Now, CPAP machines through VA report back to the VA. And so my issue is at the 10-year rule, it talks about, this is also paraphrased, you need to have a lot of evidence. The VA just can't randomly do a routine future exam. There's got to be evidence. If the evidence states your CPAP is working, is that going to be a cause for the VA to re-examine your sleep apnea? Per M21 TAC 1 and 38 CFR, as I read it, I think that answer is yes. I think the VA is going to have a lot on their hands if they go that route. But I think legally they can do that based on that. It's not based on the rating criteria change. We know that's a no. The VA can't do that. It's based on reported medical evidence, which is different, right? And so that's my number one worry about sleep apnea. Seriously, I am genuinely concerned about that. Because it's not the rating change, it's the evidence.
So are you saying, so I get what you're saying. So I understand part. I just want some clarification. So what I understand and what I'm hearing is you are, for sleep apnea, consistently providing evidence regarding your condition to the VA. So there's this, it's just constantly going. So now you have two different veterans. I would love to hear an A-B scenario. Veteran A rated 50% because they have a CPAP. Current rating schedule now where it rates you 50%. And they're going through their life. It's sending back all the information, all that stuff. Rating schedule changes. Veteran B gets rated for sleep apnea, has a CPAP, and it's working, and they're rated 0%. All the data is being sent in. No matter what, they're held to their whatever rating schedule they were on, right?
Yep.
So veteran A doesn't have to worry that his CPAP's working because they're already rated on that schedule. Veteran B would only be favored potentially if it's not working. He's like, man, something's just not working. I'm really not sleeping well, whatever. I don't know. But the data is being sent. So they can leverage that data in order to potentially get an increase.
Correct.
Okay. So that's a good thing. Now, the worry that you have would be veteran C, who maybe gets a higher rating out the gate, but then VA starts to notice that, oh, your CPAP's working now. Now you're actually doing good now. And now they have all that evidence for a reduction. Is that the person you're talking about? Is veteran C?
Veteran A and veteran C, right? And so when a rating change happens, the VA cannot reduce you based on the schedule rating changes. Got it. So let's just call it April 1st, 2025 that goes into effect. Let's just call it that. Let's fast forward to 2029. You have 4 years of using the CPAP. Your evidence, you're not the 20-year rule mark. Your evidence states you now rate a lower rating. My concern is the VA going to classify that as a rating change? Because if they are, as a schedule rating change, if they are, then the answer is no, we're safe.
Right.
Is the VA going to say, well, your evidence states this over a 4-year period mark? I'm just using that as an arbitrary number. What's the VA going to do? And as I interpret M21 and 38 CFR, I think they can change that because it's not based on the rating criteria change. It's based on evidence, on new evidence. For instance, if your mental health heals magically, you can be reduced. I don't care what happens, you can be reduced. It's the same thing as being healed, except for being healed means your treatment's working. That's my concern.
Yeah.
I really don't have the answer to that.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
as I interpret it, that's what comes.
Right.
I'm like, whoa, that's a flag. Like policy needs to dictate that.
Right. And I don't think so. I think that the veteran who got rated against whatever rating schedule that's the rating schedule that lives with them.
Mm-hmm.
So everything, if you change based on your rating schedule that you were rated against, then yes. So I don't know what's lower than maybe if you're not using your CPAP. If you stopped using your CPAP and on the current rating schedule, the VA would know that you're not using it, right? Because it would indicate that it's not being used. And then they could reduce you down for that. But I don't think that they can just arbitrarily pick which rating schedule they're going to rate you from if you were already rated on one, right? Because otherwise, somebody then the argument would then be you're rated for insomnia as a secondary, but insomnia as secondary has basically gone away. So because it's gone away, you should lose your rating. You see what I'm saying? Because now it's just gone. So they have to hold you accountable to the rating schedule in which you were rated against. They can't just pull the rug out from underneath you. So it's I think you're just grandfathered in forever. Unless you went for an increase.
Yeah.
Went over to a new rating schedule. Yeah. And then now you're on the new rating schedule and now you're screwed.
Yeah. If you prompt the VA, you're done. Hence the importance of the intent to file prior to April 1st.
Yes.
1st being the thing. I was trying to find it really quick because we're about to end the episode here. But they're in the clause that states the VA cannot change your rating based on the schedule rating changes. There's a period. It's like a 3-sentence code. The last sentence, paraphrase, says something along the lines of medical evidence showing the condition got better. It doesn't say it like that. It says something like that. And that's my biggest concern. And what I want to bring up really is I think we've identified a gap in policy and someone needs to give an answer prior to the changes going into effect, because imagine 5 years from now, everyone with sleep apnea who's using CPAPs just go to 100% because their evidence states the CPAP's working. You're going to have a lot of mad veterans, right? And that's
man.
And so that's a huge gap. That's a huge gap in policy. I just wanted to bring that up real quick.